Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Medal video. In this video we're going to take a look at the free to play challenge and we're going to see just what you guys can do to complete the pure Saiyan stage completely free to play. Now it was a pretty difficult stage when it first came out. Pure Saiyans was a pretty tough stage. It wasn't the hardest, but it's definitely a good strong stage. Pure Saiyans is always a team that has like very strong overarching capabilities because it's got such a wide amount of units. The leaders, for the most part, they try to keep them fairly limited, I think, because of the fact that there's so much access on Pure Saiyans. But I think for the most part that Pure Saiyans is always a strong team that has access to a lot of utility, a lot of mechanisms. So yeah. Obviously, in terms of our team build, how we're building it, we've gone with 130% Pure Saiyans lead in the form of the Int Prime Battle LR Vegeta. After his Extreme Z Awakening, he's 130% lead. He's okay. I think his EZA was like alright. I do think there was maybe a chance for him to be a bit better. For me at least, but I think overall he was relatively decent and fairly strong. As the friend lead, we've gone with good old Raditz. Physical Raditz, always kind of ridiculed by the community, but at the end of the day he's an okay unit and he's pretty decent in the SBR ESBR setting. I'm not saying he's going to set the world alight, but generally speaking he's pretty decent. Not to mention he's a decent enough lead for the majority of this team, being quite a high level lead. Which I think is pretty good overall. So 200% lead kind of helps to cover up for that lower lead skill we have on the Vegeta, and just in general we tend to have a pretty good time overall. Not to mention Raditz has an AoE attack which does help out quite a bit. So yeah, overall I would say the team functions relatively nicely. Not the greatest free-to-play team we can put together, but I think a very strong free-to-play team that we can put together, which is good, at least from my perspective. I tend to like it. I think it's, at least for me, a solid enough team, and I don't really have to worry too much about anything, which I think is good. When I look at team building, what I like is consistency and synergy, and this team's got a good level of synergy, which I think is very good overall. So yeah. Obviously, a couple notable units I want to say. I think that everyone will kind of look to be using, and that's okay. We're mainly looking at the Strength Bardock. I think he's a great selection. The reason why Strength Bardock is so good is obviously he has damage reduction based on the amount of low-class warriors on the team, and that can be pretty sizable, 50%. Not to mention he also carries a seal on his super attack, which again is pretty helpful. So Bardock, carrying a lot of really useful mechanisms that I think a lot of players will find incredibly helpful in a lot of content, not just this content, like content all over the place. And so Bardock is very consistent in that regard and a very strong unit to utilize. Then kind of alongside him we obviously have a couple notable members of the Team Bardock team, which you'll see is the predominant free-to-play backbone of this team. We have, for example, good old Shugesh, Lord Shugesh. We have pretty much the entire Team Bardock team actually. We also have Fasha, we have Tora, we have everyone basically. We just don't have the LR. We've replaced the LR with the Vegeta. So we've replaced the LR with the Prime Battle Vegeta. For obvious reasons, he's just better, so it just makes life a lot easier basically. So yeah, that's pretty much the only major replacement I would say. There's not much beyond that in the way of anything else I would say is absolutely necessary. I think most, at least for me, most of the team is pretty self-explanatory. Fasha is a great unit. She lowers attack and defense. She's got that evasion. She's got the ability to support the rest of the team. It's incredibly helpful, which I think is great overall. Then we also have good old Shugesh with his stunning capabilities and his obvious ability to do multiple super attacks. We just have a very good team. Like, we just have a very solid team. I think we don't have anyone that really lets us down, which I think is where we are in a good place. Toria provides us with some healing, provides us with some solid support, and yeah, I think in general we don't lack too much. Obviously, from a free-to-play perspective, whenever something involves the Team Bardock team or the Ginyu Force team, that's generally a good sign. Mainly because it provides a lot of capabilities. It allows the team to kind of function in a very good light, and they're very easy to access units that aren't hard to get at all. So yeah, it generally speaking is always a good sign when you can involve some of these crucial, really strong free-to-play units that I think do really well. And especially when you can have like the whole Team Bardock team, because remember, they are made to be synergistic. Like Borgos is made to kind of link up with Shugesh, and Bardock is kind of made to link up with Fasha, and yeah, just in general, they are a very, very solid team. And with Toria floating around, and with the Raditz, and with all these other pretty strong units, I think in general you just have a pretty good time. So yeah, I personally speaking think the team runs great, and I don't really have an issue with anything here. I think the run was relatively easy. Obviously, with it being pure Saiyans, as I mentioned before, units do tend to hit a wee bit hard, or a wee bit harder than one might expect them to. But I think overall, most people will not have a problem with like this, if you know what I mean. I think most players will be fairly competent in their abilities to run this team, and I think yeah, it's an easy team to kind of twist, because you can just stick them on any team. Obviously, like with Bardock, most of their abilities do at least want at least one other member on the team, and with Bardock, he heavily scales with the amount of low class warriors, Team Bardock members on the team, so you do need to be aware of that. But I think beyond that, there's not too much for you to be concerned about. So yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. But I think in general, this is just all fairly good play, and I think the team runs pretty nicely overall. And yeah, the functionality is in a very good spot. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the team. I don't think there is anything else really that you need to kind of be concerned about. As I mentioned before, a very straightforward team to run. Honestly, super duper simple. I can't see anyone having huge issues, and yeah, you should have a pretty decent time. But that is basically it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you can leave a like on it, and I'll see you guys in the next one, I hope. But other than that, of course, we'll keep pushing on until we finish these SPR, and then we'll see where we go with the free-to-play challenge. But yeah, that is basically going to be it for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time. Bye.